Sean Hannity is very much concerned at Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's proposal to increase the marginal tax rate. Now, I want to reiterate that the marginal tax rate is the effective tax rate after a wealthy individual makes a certain amount of money. So for instance, if someone is making $11 million a year, they would get taxed at a much lower rate for the first 10 million, and then everything after the 10 million would be the marginal tax rate or taxed at the marginal tax rate. And so 60% or 70% is what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had mentioned during her interview on 60 Minutes. Well, Sean Hannity thinks that this is an outrage because it means that wealthy people might not be able to go out to eat. And I'm not kidding, he made $36 million last year, okay? So if he gets taxed a little bit more, he might not be able to go out to eat, guys. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Let's hear from him and see what he has to say.
Well, Cortez said she wants a 70% tax bracket. 70%. Now, if you take that money from them and you confiscate it vis-a-vis high tax rates or the threat of a jail cell, raising it 70 cents. No, you have a mass exodus out of New York, New Jersey, California, all these high tax states. And people got mad at me. They said, Hannity, you were talking about, well, rich people won't buy boats. No, rich people won't go to restaurants because they won't have the money. Rich people won't invest in companies. That means they're not going to hire people. Rich people are not going to remodel their homes. They're not going to build new homes. Who benefits? The contractor, the electrician, the plumber, the carpenters. They're the ones that benefit when rich people spend money on their homes. The car manufacturers, all of a sudden, well, maybe I'm going to hang on to that old clunker for another 5 years because I can't afford another new home because government's taking a bigger portion of my income every year.
Okay. So I want to reiterate again, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez mentioned the marginal tax rate. The marginal tax rate does not mean that his entire income would be taxed at 70%. And you know what? Sean Hannity knows that. All of these whiners that we're hearing from know that. They're purposely misleading people into thinking that the federal government would tax them at 70%. No, they would tax you at 70% past $10 million in any given year. So you're telling me, Sean Hannity, that if you were making $36 million a year, which you are, that's what you made last year, and you got taxed at a higher rate for anything that you made past $10 million, you wouldn't be able to go out to eat? Where are you going out to eat? Like, is he going to a different country to eat every time he decides I want to eat out? Is that what Sean Hannity is doing? What world are you living in?
They're gonna be poor. They're only gonna have one private chef and they'll have to stay home and eat his food every single day, no variety.
You know what's funny though? It's that it's so ridiculous, but they're trying to normalize it. Like when you listen to what he's saying, it was like Politicon when Tucker Carlson talked about his dinner parties and he said, I live around rich people, but he never considered himself, never labeled himself one of the rich people. But when you hear this conversation, this talk that this person talks, it pisses me off because what they're saying is, who's gonna benefit? The electrician, the plumber, you, the everyday person. A lot of these wealthy people who are wealthy on your backs. It's not like you notice he didn't say our hard-earned money because a lot of them inherited the money and it's made, they've made their wealthy on the backs of the people that they despise. The electrician and the plumber, whether he is misguiding the people or not, are still worthy of a better life. And shame on people who talk like that about people. He makes me so angry.
I would say his specific interest is not in his own wealth in terms of it being taxed at a marginal tax rate of 70%. I say he wants to keep his high salary. And his high salary hinges on him seeming like he's looking out for the general conservative person who doesn't make that level of money but is still conservative. And that person gravitates towards things like referring to taxes as confiscation.
But he said
Yes.
the rich people, though. He said the
He doesn't
rich-
like to consider, like
Yeah.
Right,
that is
but
a
if you-
strategic thing that he does. And you're right, a lot of these news actors, and it's not something that we just see on Fox News. I see it on CNN. Sometimes you see it on MSNBC as well. A lot of these news actors who want to fight against higher taxes or fair taxes for the wealthy will make it seem as though they are not included in that group of wealthy people. They are certainly included in that group of wealthy people.
Of course.
Yeah, their salaries are to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. $36 million for doing what? What kind of risk is Sean Hannity? Is he a business owner? Is he creating jobs? Right? What kind of trickle-down economics BS is he trying to peddle here? Because essentially the argument that he's making is, well, I pay, because I have a low tax rate, I pay other people to wipe my ass for me. So if you tax me at a higher rate, then I won't do that anymore. Yes, you will. Believe me, you will.
Right, he will do that. And I think when you talk about the marginal tax rate at such a high level, what it does in the conservative mind is mess with the fantasy of being that rich.
I know.
And that's what it is. So people who are worth $1 million, which is a lot of money, want to make $10 million a year. And they're not going to, but they feel like they're that kind of person. And so when you talk about lessening the utter bliss of making $10 million a year, to them, that's an assault on their concept of the American dream.
Right.
So that's why he's saying what he's saying. And the trouble with it is he also tries to, mimic those things that conservative business guys say around the whatever, it's not a water cooler, but at work or at the golf course when they complain. Because that's what they like to talk about. It's like, what was I listening to on the drive home? And so they start complaining about like, oh, the government took my taxes, they confiscated my home. And he tries to keep it at times in like the general like lingo of that, but occasionally he slips up.
But when
And in this time he slipped up when he said, I can't afford to buy another new home.
I can't
he
believe
said, though, you got to keep the old clunker. But when you
don't have a clunker. If you're in this category, it never ever becomes a clunker.
But he's playing with those people because the people who have clunkers that identify or want to identify with them they get revved up. But when you say things like rich people won't be able to go to dinner, when there are people out there who literally don't have dinner,
It's unbelievable.
It's just.
But you know what? I do appreciate that he's bringing up the issue of theft, because there is a lot of theft in this country. So for instance, when you peddle wars and you support invading other countries and you send our soldiers to those countries and they lose their lives as a result of that, so defense contractors can become wealthy, when they die, you are stealing their lives from them. By the way, those are our military members who make a whopping $23,000 a year. $23,000 a year. Okay, that's theft, in my opinion. I don't know, but maybe taxing you at a higher rate past $10 million a year, I wouldn't consider that theft. In fact, you've been stealing from the American government and the American people for far too long already with your insanely low tax rate and the loopholes that go along with it. Sean Hannity is an embarrassment to the American people. He is as unpatriotic as you can possibly be, because a real patriot is someone who wants to give back to the American people, who looks at his fellow American, someone who might be struggling financially, and doesn't look at them as if they're an enemy, but looks at them as if they are a fellow American who could use some help. And he's in a position of power. He's in a very privileged position where he has the ability to help people out. And rather than doing that, he's whining about not being able to go eat out if he gets taxed at a higher rate past $10 million a year. You are pathetic and embarrassing.
Where is the lie? Where?
It's also income tax. So really this incentivizes you to take that money and put it back into like an investment or a company or something to create those jobs you say you're gonna create. He thinks that the only trickle down comes from buying a cabinet even in his logic.
You people better wake up. You people who blindly follow these people who don't take you into consideration, you're not even in the equation, you better wake up. because they're coming for all of us. They're not just coming for us.
They came, and the pillaging continues.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.